intent to spread the faith were particularly frustrated by their inability to stamp out polygamy, and in the early 13th century, Theodore, the Bishop of Alania, in a letter to his superiors in Constantinople, wrote in reference to a passage in the Bible that, quote, "My flock," that is to say the Alans, "prostitutes itself, not just with wood, as it is written in Jeremiah 3:9, but also with all stones and waters." Basically, this means that they made love outdoors. He went on to complain that they do not prostrate themselves before carved images, but before some demons in high places. And I would say that in Ossetia they still do this. The popular religion is based on pilgrimages, annual pilgrimages to shrines that are generally at the tops of mountains in exposed areas. The Alans, concluded the bishop, are Christians only in name. 3 decades later, the Flemish monk William of Rubruck passed through the region on his way to Mongolia and observed that the Alans were ignorant of everything about the Christian rite except the name of Christ. In fact, later evidence gleaned from the Ossets in the late 18th century through the early 20th shows that the Alans of the Caucasus preserved much of the ancient Scythian divine pantheon and ritual practice, the veneer of Christian saint names and modified holidays. Hello, it's Mithra's birthday today, December 25th. When was that, the 4th century, 5th century, that this was established as a date for Christmas? And it was because, well, so many people were celebrating Mithra's birthday that the church fathers decided, look, let's just co-opt this. Because before that, nobody, Jesus was born. And incidentally, as a footnote, in Pakistan, which due to the heritage of the British Raj, Christmas became very popular. The Islamists have been, of course, protesting against this. They don't like the fact that everybody celebrates Christmas in Pakistan. So the government finally rechristened it. That's not the right word, but they renamed it Muhammad Ali Jinnah Day. So it's still a national holiday, but it's not Christmas. The cult of the dead remained paramount, showing a strong continuity stretching back to Scythian times. Magical amulets, animal figures, and ritually broken mirrors filled Ossetian graves, just as they had 2,000 years before. Psychotropic drugs were used to induce dreams and visions, recalling their use by the shamans at the steppes. And by the way, Ossetian popular religion today is all about alcohol. A religious ceremony is by definition, it's called a kruft, which comes from the verb kruven, which it means to make a toast, but it also means to pray. So in Ossetian culture, toasting is praying. It's the same thing. So if you were participating in a ceremony, it's just one after another. They will give a toast first to Quetzalcoatl, who is the supreme deity, and then to Wastraji, who's the most important actual functioning deity, and then you work your way down from there, and you spend several hours drinking and drinking. Usually out of a horn, and I was asked, do you know why we drink out of horns? Which of course is what the Scythians did, and Rhytons are modified horns, right? They're modified drinking horns. But they still drink out of horns in Ossetia, and they say the reason for this is that you should not be able to put it down until it's empty. So no sipping at the drink. Although Russians began a concerted missionary effort to re-Christianize the Ossets as part of their incursions into the Southern Caucasus in the late 18th century, to this day the traditional religion remains deeply rooted in Ossetian culture and has even been seeing a revival since the fall of the Soviet Union. The modern Ossetian term for the supreme being, Quetzalcoatl, literally means God of gods, which is an ancient Iranian type of construction mirrored in the royal term Shah and Shah, or King of Kings. Apart from the fact that the name itself reflects a polytheistic understanding, Quetzalcoatl is perceived as a remote entity, not directly concerned with human affairs. In real terms, the most important Ossetian deity is Wastraji, the god of warriors, travelers, and oaths, Mithra. A solar figure concerned exclusively with men, Wastraji is associated with St. George. He is portrayed as a powerful but venerable figure sitting astride a horse with long gray hair and all dressed in white. He is the subject of a large annual week-long festival held in November called Chorbuba, culminating in a bull sacrifice, again, Mitra, and the Iranian parallel is the festival of Mehrgan, which is the fall harvest festival. Mehrgan, which the older form is Mitrakana. It was the annual festival of Mitra. I personally believe that in pre-Zoroastrian times, Mitra was the principal deity of the Aryan peoples. In this and other respects, Wasserji shares much in common with the ancient Indo-Iranian deity Mitra, and may be derived to some extent from him. Also much feared, worshipped, and invoked by Ossetians is Watsila, the god of thunder and storms, who is identified with Saint Elias. His descendants from the corresponding deity of the ancient Scythians is clear. Another important Ossetian god having obvious ancient roots is Apsati, the patron of hunters, who is associated with St. Eustace. Tutir, connected with St. Theodore, is the god of wolves, to whom Ossetian shepherds address their prayers and blood sacrifices to keep his canine packs away from their sheep. Donbatir, the god of the waters, is the Ossetian analog to St. Peter. Other Ossetian deities include Falvara, the protector of sheep, Safa, the spirit of the hearth chain, which is the center of rituals within the home, and Alardi, the god of smallpox, who, like Tutir, is a negative deity whom one prays to stay away. Women are largely excluded from the traditional Ossetian religion, having only Madi Meiram, the Virgin Mary, as protector of their interests. To her, they pray for children, or interestingly, if they already have too many, they pray to her not to give them any more children. And this past summer, when I was doing research on the most important public ceremony in Ossetia at the shrine of Rekhom, near the border with South Ossetia, I asked my fiancée, Fatima, to come and hang out with the women, because men and women are separate. And the ceremony is in honor of Wasserji, who is an exclusively male deity. Women are not allowed to pronounce his name. They have to say, they refer to him by epithets, like the protector of men, they might say. They cannot pray to him, they cannot talk about him, and they cannot participate in his ceremonies. They have to stand about 100 meters away and just sort of watch. And I asked her, well, tell me what's going on with the women while the men are doing these rituals. And afterwards she told me, well, they don't do anything. They just stand there and watch the men and wait for it to be over. So it's a very patriarchal religion. Assets maintain their close connection with the dead, entombing them in sepulchre villages directly facing their own. The purposes being to keep their ancestors connected with the activities of the living. This is really interesting. If you go to Dargos, for example, which is where it's one of the famous tourist sites in Ossetia, maybe you've seen pictures, these strange, sort of cone-topped buildings. It's really a city of the dead, and they are open, and you can actually see the bones of the deceased ancestors. And the idea is that this openness means that they're constantly, they can watch what's going on in the village, and they can participate. It's really interesting. The Ossetian calendar is marked by a number of annual festivals dedicated to the various deities just mentioned, which bear little or no connection to any found in Christianity. Most are celebrated by making treks to remote shrines high in the mountains, where blood sacrifices to the gods were still being made in the 20th century. Such shrines are often located in sacred groves, such as Rekhom, which is in the Say Valley, or Fetak's Grove near Alagir. Today, these festivals are mainly occasions for feasting and drinking, traditionally focusing on the consumption of brie cheese or meat pies and sacred beer served on a round, three-legged table. Interestingly, in Ossetian, the word krug means both prayer and toast. In other words, prayers are offered in the form of a toast to the deity. Traditional Ossetian religion has no priesthood, but the prayer may be led by any man who has kept himself pure for 2 months prior to the event. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, traditional Ossetian religion has become tied with nation building. The Ossetian national anthem includes the line, "Reject not our devotional feast, O Kutsati Kutsal. Look upon us, Wasserji, praise to thee." In 1994, the government of Ossetia Alania declared St. Petak's Day, held on the first Sunday of July, as the principal national holiday, and it established a foundation for the preservation of Petak's grove and for the restoration of its shrine to Wastrachit. The festival now draws hundreds of thousands of participants every year, as well as the ire of Ossetia's Christian and Muslim leaders. It is a recurring pattern in history that barbarian groups tend to adopt established official religions as part of the process of their assimilation into civilized societies, whether Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, or whatever. In most cases, they do retain aspects of their prior religious outlook, including myths and rituals which are adapted to conform with the new dominant religion. The Alans and their modern-day descendants, the Assets, present an unusual case in this regard. Their nominal conversion to Byzantine Christianity during the 10th century would seem to fit the general pattern seen throughout the history of religions, whereby barbarians, either conquered by or seeking alliances with powerful states, accept a new religion as a way of demonstrating that they have now become civilized. However, it is clear in hindsight that Christianity failed to permeate or take root in Alan society. Its presence among the Ossetians today largely dates to the more recent efforts of the Russian Church from the late 18th century onward. And even now, it has not succeeded in displacing the traditional religion. How does one account for this? The fact that the Alans were a non-urban, non-literate society living at a considerable distance from the ecclesiastical centers of power can go a long way towards answering the question. To date, no evidence has come to light that the Bible or the Christian liturgy were ever translated into the Alan language. During the period of greatest contact with Byzantium, pastors were sent to the Alan regions from Constantinople or Trebizond, and they do not appear to have integrated themselves to any great degree into Alan society. Perhaps they didn't speak Alan. One wonders. There's no evidence of